All right. Well, welcome back to Reviews by Hunter. That's me. I'm Hunter. Now, my last video was my top 10 best movies of 2025, and now I have the top 10 worst movies of 2025. Now, of course, disclaimer, I did not see every movie in 2025. Even some of the ones that I heard were really bad, like War of the Worlds, Electric State, or the Snow White live action. But I did see some movies this year that were, pretty disappointing. So let's go ahead and start with my honorable mentions. And again, these aren't full reviews. This is just kind of why I thought these movies weren't that great. But my first honorable mention is The Running Man. Listen, there's a much better movie this year that came out based off a Stephen King novel named The Long Walk. And I would watch that instead of wasting your time on The Running Man. I think it feels like an incomplete script, particularly that third act. I didn't buy into Glenn Powell being the angriest man in America when literally every other role I've seen him in is him playing more of a cool, maybe lovable jerk kind of guy, but more like this is just not his character. And overall, I thought that this movie was just kind of forgettable, but there were some decent parts of it in the beginning, so that's why it's an honorable mention. Next, we have The Conjuring 4, Last Rites. I know, I have grown to really enjoy the Conjuring franchise, but this was the weakest installment. What were they doing with that ending, with the spinning mirror and the power of friendship, and why did it turn into like this more of a, less about the horror and more about like their family problems that I wasn't as interested in? I mean, the trailer was a banger, and then the movie was just like, oh, okay, this isn't what I signed up for. And why did you give such an amazing design to the demon that was in this movie, and then you barely used him, or at least we barely see him on screen? Should have had easily another 10 minutes of screen time. Easily. Conjuring 4 Last Rites was not it for me. For it being it was supposed to be the final case that made them retire, right? This is the most powerful demon that they've gone against, and they just, to me, dropped the ball. But there were some things that I did enjoy about the film, especially the part where like the demon sets like the Bible on fire and forces that priest to do what he did, if you've seen the movie. But moving on to the actual top 10. At number 10, we have a rom-com. Listen, I'm a sucker for rom-coms. I enjoy rom-coms. Not this one. I'm talking about The Materialists, starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. Now, listen, 1, I'm tired of seeing Pedro Pascal. 2, Dakota Johnson just will never work for me as a leading actress in any movie that I watch her in ever. She's so bland and uninspiring, and there's just no on-screen presence from Dakota Johnson. And overall, this movie just sucks. There's not really a love triangle aspect to it, which probably would have made the movie more entertaining, to be honest. Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal only share the screen with each other for maybe a minute, maybe a little bit longer, but hardly. And while I don't think this movie was broke boy propaganda, I just think it missed the charming parts, all of the charming parts of what a rom-com can be when they're done well, and did everything that makes them, well, forgettable. Moving on, I have a horror movie for you guys. It released earlier in the 2025, I believe in April, Until Dawn, which was based off a video game, apparently, that I've never played. Until Dawn had a really great concept with the whole respawning in this haunted house. Every time you die, you come back to life, and you have to survive until dawn, and if you don't, you become a monster. You become one of the monsters of that house. But unfortunately, none of these characters were likable. Again, another leading actress that didn't do it for me. And I also felt like I really wasn't rooting for any of these characters, and there was a lot of stupid decisions made throughout the film. And literally, in the movie, there's a compilation of different deaths that the character have gone through, instead of just showing us those deaths in the movie. And it might have been a more interesting movie, I don't know, but probably one of the worst horror movies I saw all year. Great concept, terrible execution, particularly the last half of the movie. Moving on, I have, from the MCU, we've got Captain America Brave New World. 46% on Rotten Tomatoes. Remember Avengers? Remember Iron Man? Remember Thor? Ragnarok? Me too. Pepperidge Farm members. And Pepperidge Farm wishes they could forget Captain America: Brave New World. This movie sucked, man. It stinked. I think Anthony Mackie does his best job as this new Captain America. Unfortunately, I would rather watch any of the other Captain Americas before I watched Brave New World again. They should not have shown Red Hulk in that trailer. I'll stand by that. That should have been a reveal in theaters. And unfortunately, the trailer was the movie, right? The best part of the movie is in the last 10 minutes, 10 minutes, where we do get to see Red Hulk, and then he gets Tak no Jutsu into transforming back into his human form. This was a really uninspiring MCU movie, and I know they pushed it like it was a big deal, but it wasn't impressive to me. I didn't have fun with this, and Steve Rogers is my Captain America. I'm sorry. Red Hulk is cool, but wow, you didn't give him very much screen time, and you should have not put him in the trailer. And I think the Rotten Tomato score speaks for itself. So, moving to our number 7, I got Five Nights at Freddy's 2, FNAF 2. Listen, I said on my Snapchat that I would give it an 8 out of 10 for the vibe of the theater. These fans showed up for this movie. I think it made a bunch of money. The fans were going crazy. This movie had issues. It had editing issues. It had cinematography issues where I swear, unless it was just my theater, there was this weird like orange or even blue tint that like horror movies have had, like Blumhouse is known for, that really was distracting and looked amateurish. I think they did the right thing making it a theater release this time instead of just releasing it on streaming. However, bad editing, bad acting. Josh Hutcherson and Elizabeth Lail do not have any on-screen chemistry. I do not care about their relationship, so all of their scenes together kind of mean nothing for me. The animatronics did look pretty good in this film. However, unless you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes over your head like it did for me. There was numerous scenes in this movie where there's a cameo or something shown on screen that's supposed to mean something, but only if you follow the games. And then, of course, those things aren't really always explained or explored, and you kind of just end up feeling a little bit lost with FNAF 2. And I think the horror aspect of this movie, to me, didn't really show up other than the Marionette Doll. The Marionette Doll did have some decent horror films. That's why this film is lower on the list. Some decent moments, but overall a pretty bad movie. If it wasn't for my theater, actually, like, I latched on to the energy that they had, how much fun they were having with it. But dude, I wouldn't rewatch this. The only thing, and honestly, this movie, the thing I like most about it is that song, Can't Wait to Meet You, so join the animatronic family. That song's a banger. And that's also why this movie's lower on the list. Moving on. I've got for you, coming in at number 6, one of the lowest rated movies on my list on Rotten Tomatoes, coming in at a 36% score. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Another horror movie. Wow. There were some good ones and there were some bad ones. This was a bad one. This was actually apparently a remake of a prior I Know What You Did Last Summer, but with like a legacy cast. This sucked. Generic horror, generic slasher, generic plot with characters that once again were pretty dang unlikable, and I really didn't care if they lived or died. And this amount of bad decision making, like when they're hanging out at what was it called, like Devil's Peak or whatever, and they're just hanging out in the middle of the road, and then a car swerves around the corner and then falls off the cliff. It's just, everything about this was bad. The antagonist to me was sloppy, like very. But again, this is a movie. It's a movie. You write the script. Why is your antagonist so incompetent at hunting the people that they're trying to get rid of? It just all looked bad, uninspired. I did not like this. I think I've forgotten more about this movie than I remember, and there are far better slashers out there literally on streaming right now. So, moving on to the top 5. All right, I said that this movie, its leading actor gave his best performance of his career, in my opinion. Still one of the worst movies I saw this year. I'm talking about A24's The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a sports drama. Listen, when I thought about it long and hard, is it the best acting performance that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has given in his career? Probably, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has also made a career of just playing himself. So he finally actually took on a role that required him to play a character, right? The only other one I can think of for him is like Black Adam. And then he tanked that. But anyway, I felt like after watching this movie, why was this made? If this is the best story that you had to tell about this person, that you made a movie out of it, then I don't need to see this. Like, this movie is on this list because I don't even think it needed to be made. I truly don't. I left the theater feeling so, like, emotionless. This movie gave me nothing. Yes, The Rock is good in it, acting-wise, but the actual entertainment value of it was not there for me. A really uninspired, I've used that word a lot, sports drama in the smashing machine. Originally, I did give it like a 7 out of 10, but I thought about it and I'm like, that movie was not, like, I was in the theater checking my phone over and over because I'm like, gosh, when is this over? And he gets beat up throughout the whole movie. He doesn't do much smashing. And then, like, he never even has his, like, redemption arc with that tournament at the end. It's just, it was not for me whatsoever. One of the weaker A24 submissions, and I really have been a fan of A24. They put out some good stuff, and this wasn't one of them. Moving on to number 4, we've got Wicked for Good. So, Wicked for Good, I'm just going to be honest, I think part 1 did everything better. The music, the acting, the marketing, the humor, and in this one, nothing was memorable. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were doing weird press conferences or interviews with each other. And I felt this movie dragged, and I thought they could have I think the casting could have been better. I really do. I think they could have found someone else to play the wizard, and I think it's Michelle something. They should have found someone else for that character as well. Moving on from Wicked, I don't want to talk about it anymore. We've got a franchise that is very popular, made nearly $1 billion in the box office, but I thought was, well, stinky, terrible. Jurassic World Rebirth. Why is it hard to make a good dinosaur movie, man? Why is it hard? It should not be hard to make a good dinosaur movie. It shouldn't. They figured it out. Wow. So where do I start with this one? First of all, I can't remember a single cool thing a dinosaur did in this movie besides the D-Rex that shows up for 5 minutes at the end. The B-plot with the family that was lost at sea, but then they get rescued by our main cast, and then they get separated again, and the boyfriend's like a douchebag, but he tries to redeem himself. It was all awful. Okay, the dinosaurs looked pretty good, but they didn't do anything cool. I never felt like the characters were actually in danger. Scarlett Johansson phones in her performance big time, and I really didn't like this. Once again, one of those movies where I think more screen time was needed for the best part, which was the D-Rex. But other than that, I think I forgot more about this movie than I remember, and I would rather watch the original OG Jurassic Park than this any day. I don't care if it nearly made $1 billion. To me, this was so unentertaining, and I don't get it. I don't know what they were going for, but the plot didn't work for me. The characters didn't work for me. Nothing about this movie worked for me. It was such a disappointment. I thought it was going to be way better than it was, and I was wrong. But moving on to the top 2. Now, this next one I have went back and forth with one of my longtime friends since we were 5 years old. I'm talking about Netflix's Happy Gilmore 2. Listen, I'm going to keep this brief. This movie was atrocious, okay? It wasn't funny. I don't care if Adam Sandler got all of his friends and colleagues to be in this movie and they got to, have fun and they got paid. Cool. Me sitting at home on my couch watching this was like, this is awful. When is this ending? This sucks. And why did they kill off his wife in like the first 30 seconds? And then the whole plot of the first movie of him trying to save grandma's house completely, they scrapped that. The movie didn't look good cinematography wise. Even for an Adam Sandler movie, it wasn't even it's so bad, it's good. I just found it to be it's so bad, it's bad. I will not ever defend Happy Gilmore 2. One of the worst sequels I think I've ever seen, man. It couldn't make me like laugh once, man. I didn't go in with high expectations, and somehow I still left feeling disappointed. Now, number 1 might be a bit controversial because I've seen some people that really liked this movie. Another horror movie. I'm talking about 28 years later. Now, this movie, okay, I thought the trailer looked really good. and then it goes in a completely different direction. Again, I'm not going to give the full review again, but another thing too is Alex Garland was one of the main writers for this movie. He also made a movie called Annihilation that was recommended to me by a dear friend, and unfortunately I did not love Annihilation either. So I might just have, I don't think I jive with Alex Garland's style or Danny Boyle, the director. This movie sucked, and the first 30 minutes were so good, but after that I didn't care. All of a sudden it's not a zombie movie anymore. All really weird editing choices, by the way. I did not love the ending. I talked about that. That was, I'm going to stand by and say that was the worst ending I saw that year in 2025, and one of the worst endings I've ever seen. Terrible. Like the Power Rangers basically show up, cosplaying almost Power Rangers. They're doing flips. They're doing backflips. It was so bad, man. And I think this movie could have been so much better. I am not excited to see the next part of this. I know that this is like part one of them expanding this franchise, but not a good zombie film, in my opinion, man. Again, I've seen some people say that this is in their top 10 best movies of 2025, but after the first 30 minutes, nothing about this movie worked for me at all. At all. I was so disappointed, man. I was so disappointed because I felt this was one of the most misleading movies of 2025 as well. Just the way, dude, when that first trailer came out with the boots, we were all so hyped, man. We were all so hyped. And then you can't drop the ball any harder than 28 years later, dude. I'm talking about it right now. I want to turn on an actual good zombie flick after making this video just to cleanse my mind of anything else relating to 28 years later. But guys, I'm not going to keep you much longer. Happy New Year. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'm going to continue to try and make improvements to the channel. And, if any of these movies on the list, you disagree, let me know in the comments, man. We can have differences of opinion. That's okay. But hey, that's all I got for you guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.